1980s, he discovered the first of many viruses of algae. One of the algal viruses Dr. Van Etten discovered garnered widespread media attention because portions of its genomic sequence were found in brain tissue of people afflicted with certain mental disorders such as depression. Collaborative studies are continuing to reveal the intriguingly complex biology of these algal viruses and their role, if any, in human pathologies. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jamie Van Etten.
Well, I want to start out by thanking the organizers for putting this event together, and to everybody and everyone for showing up today to support science. I am not here to make a political statement, but here to support the United States effort in science and science research, which is the envy of all other countries in the world. Without doubt, all the other countries would have loved to have our status in science and scientific research. They are trying to obtain this status. For example, China and India have been increasing their science budgets significantly and are developing outstanding research facilities to attract and retain their best students. Science has served the United States well in making us the strongest country in the world economically, militarily, and agriculturally. Science has also served the world well in improving the human condition, whether it be developing better communications, for example, social media, preventing and curing communicable diseases, or providing the food we eat. However, I have two major concerns about the future of science and science research in the United States. First is the anti-science culture that is developing in this country, and I'll give 4 examples of this concern. First, people who deny that climate change is happening and that humans are contributing to this change. Second, people who are against vaccination for certain preventable diseases. Third, people that deny that evolution occurs. People against genetically modified products. Now, the National Academy of Sciences, which is an independent organization, by the way, has conducted major studies on each of these subjects and concluded that there's no scientific basis for for the opinions of these deniers. All of these studies, by the way, are available to the public. On these issues, I can specifically relate to the vaccine issue in that I had polio as a young boy, and because of vaccines, this is a disease that parents no longer have to worry about. In terms of the climate change issue, this will not have much of an effect on me personally because of my age, but it will have an effect on my 5 grandchildren with another one on the way. In terms of evolution, there's a famous quote that nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution. A typical example of evolution is the battle between microorganisms, including viruses, that cause human, animal, and plant diseases. These pathogens are constantly evolving to overcome host resistance or to attack a new host, and so scientific research is continuously required to try and stay one step ahead of the pathogens. Finally, on the GMO issue, to my knowledge, no one has ever been named or harmed by eating a genetically modified organism. I want to remind everybody that scientific facts are not political statements, but are statements of truth. A second big concern I have for science and scientific research is the current administration's apparent attitude towards science. As far as I know, they have still not appointed a scientific advisor to look to for advice on scientific issues. They have also suggested major cuts in government funding for science and scientific issues. This includes a suggested 20% cut in the budget for the National Institutes of Health, which is one of the largest funding sources for scientific research, primarily in the health sciences. In addition, major cuts have been proposed for research in the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Energy, and possibly as much as 10% cut at the National Science Foundation. If these cuts are approved by Congress, they will have a devastating effect on science and scientific research for years to come. Besides just stopping valuable research, at the present time, it will be difficult to encourage bright young people to consider going into science and scientific research in the future. Unfortunately, scientific research is not something that you can just stop and start easily. It takes time and money to put together well-trained teams of scientists to investigate a particular problem. Finally, another concern I have is that all these suggested cuts will have their biggest effects on support for curiosity-driven science, which does not necessarily have an immediate application. Speaking as a biologist, it is clear that there's an enormous amount of information in the natural world that we do not know about. Based on our previous experiences, learning about the natural world will undoubtedly lead to discoveries that can benefit the human condition. There are certainly many examples of this in the past. For example, the development of the antibiotics industry. Finally, I want to thank everyone for coming out today in support of science and wish you a very pleasant weekend.